I'm going to be showing you how to set up the tutorials for the different PID tunings that we can use during our practices. So first you're going to go to this URL here. I'll provide it in wherever it is, like wherever we show it. And then once you come here, make sure that you have Git and GitHub Desktop downloaded beforehand. If you need a tutorial, look it up online because that's how we're going to be setting up the practice repository, because otherwise it's a little bit more complicated and this is, I feel, more intuitive. So once you're here, once you've downloaded GitHub Desktop and everything and you come here, you can click on the green button and then you can click on Open with GitHub Desktop. So then it's going to open it up. What I do is for all my robotics projects, I have it in my C drive somewhere because that way you don't have to deal with the OneDrive thing with WPILib, it doesn't work. And so if you just have a single repository and a single folder dedicated to all of your robotic stuff, I find it more helpful. So we're going to clone it. And then we are going to go search WPILib. And then I already have one open, so I'm going to close that out. And then you can click on Open Folder and then navigate towards wherever you saved it, preferably in one of your own projects in your C drive. So here it is right here. I'll click Add Folder, and then now you can, if you click through, you can read some of the documentation. This is all using YAMLs. So with YAMLs, there's simulation, and so if we don't have a physical mechanism with you, then YAMLs is one of the better ways to simulate. It's better than, honestly, the WPILib ones in their docs. I found those ones were kind of buggy and didn't always load. And so we have arm, elevator, and flywheel. Whenever you watch the individual tutorials, they'll show you how to tune those. But for now, we are going to set up the simulation, and we're going to set up all of the other stuff so that you can start tuning. So we're going to go to open, you're going to click on the WPILib button. It might change sometime in the future, but I hope not. It's just the button right next to the play one. You can also press Control-Shift-P and it'll pop up with a bunch of stuff to do or commands. And then if you type in simulate, yeah, I have it recently used, but it should pop up with simulate robot code. And then it's gonna say build successful, and then we're gonna use the sim GUI because that's easier than using the real driver station, and not everybody has FRC game tools downloaded. So we're gonna press OK. It's gonna do its stuff, and then now we can simulate the robot. So I already have a joystick loaded in here, but if you don't have any joysticks here, then you can drag it over from 16 and drag it in here. These buttons are Z, X, C, and V. So that's good to know in the future. And then these are how you either say autonomous, teleoperated, or test. We don't need to worry about that right now. So now that we have the sim GUI open, we're simulating the robot code. We can now we can open up two things. We can open Elastic, and then we can open up Advantage Scope. And both of these tools should come with the WPILib package that you installed whenever you install WPILib. So there we go. And then now is whenever you choose whichever mechanism you want to simulate. So for this example, obviously whenever you work on the specific examples for the arm and for the elevator and for the flywheel, you choose those. But you go into Smart Dashboard, you choose whichever mechanism you're going to use. I'm going to simulate the elevator. And then you can see it visualize here, but we're not going to be actually visualizing it here. We're going to be visualizing it in Elastic. So I'm going to create a new tab, rename it to example And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, or you can click up here, go add widget, and then search live. And then under here, you can go into Smart Dashboard Mechanisms Commands. Choose whichever mechanism you want to simulate. So for this example, I'm going to do the elevator subsystem, but you would click it on the other ones for the other tuning or for the other commands. And then you're going to drag this live tuning command over anywhere in this space is fine. I just put in the top left. And then once you do that, then you could click on this. You can click on the teleoperated, sorry. So teleoperated, now it's in the teleop period. This would be the driver controlled period, but this is how we're going to be tuning it. If you're using Phoenix Tuner or Rev Hardware Client, you probably, I know for Phoenix Tuner at least, you need to have the teleoperated still enabled. And then you also have to enable the motor to be working outside of what the code tells it to do. So if that's the case, then keep that in mind. And then now we're going to go into Advantage Scope, and then we are going to drag in the simulated mechanism. So either press Control-Shift-K or go to File, Connect to Robot, and then it should have just this line graph. This wouldn't show up on the default one. You would press plus, and then you would go to mechanism. So this is where we're going to show our mechanism and see how and look at how it performs. Same thing we did before. We're going to go into Smart Dashboard, and then we're doing the elevator. So we're going to drag in the elevator, and then now you can see the elevator that you're coding. So then you can drag that over, and then what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a second tab. So in real life, or if you're sorry, in like Phoenix Tuner or something, if you're doing this, then you wouldn't need this tab, because this tab isn't necessary for whenever you're doing, because you have the actual mechanism in front of you. So that's something to just be mindful of. So now that we have this visualization over here, what we can do is we can again connect to the robot. Right now it's showing this. We're gonna go to line graph actually, and then we're gonna go to we are gonna look up position, and then based on what you're doing, so for the arm, you're gonna go to the arm motor / mechanism / position, or you can go here and go to the elevator, and then you can find the position and the velocity, and then I'm just dragging these in there so then you can look at them and visualize them. Again, in Phoenix Tuner, you would look up these values, and then I believe it's rotor position and then velocity. That would be what you would put on your graph in Phoenix Tuner. Rev Hardware Client, I haven't used, but I assume it's pretty similar. And then now what you can do is you can go to tuning, and then you can click on this button. What this button does is it makes all of these values publishable, so you can change what all of these values do. So for example, if I wanted to change the max velocity, I can change that. And then I'm going to go into more detail in these whenever we actually start tuning these mechanisms. But if you're using Phoenix Tuner, then these values will be under the config tab. So if you go to the top of wherever your motor is, it should just have like a config button, and then it should have a little motor thing. If you scroll down, you'll see some parallels with some of these values, and you can follow along using Phoenix Tuner in the same way that I'm going to be tuning in Advantage Scope, although it might look a little bit different. Same thing with Rev Hardware Client, I believe, though again, I'm not as familiar with that. So this is going to be your basic setup. Same thing no matter what dashboard you're using or what graphing tool you're using. I like to zoom this in so it's within about like a second or so, 1 to 2 seconds, because otherwise it's kind of confusing. So to do that, I'm scrolling in and out with my scroll wheel. If you're using touchpad, then you just swipe up and down with 2 fingers. And then if you need to pause it, you can do that. And then to go back and forth, you just drag along the axis with left click. And then to resume, you can you click this button again. So that's kind of the setup that we're going to be using. And then now that we are in the teleoperated period, we can click on this live tuning button. And then now that it's blue, we can start actually tuning our mechanism. So here's what it looks like. And then here's where all of the stuff is going on. So now that we're here, I will be showing you how to tune for whatever mechanism you are. Just click on the video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.